Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today's story kicks off with a classic case of we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Except the bridge is on fire and the boss is holding the match. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Boss ignores supply warnings. At my job, orders are categorized by color. The type of order is indicated by the color of the box it's in. Importantly, green boxes indicate a rush job and red boxes indicate a super rush job. Sometimes we're running short of green and red boxes. Normally, the person in charge of placing these orders would approach the supervisor and request verbal consent to place further orders. Our supplies guy, being the proactive type, approaches the boss months before this becomes an issue. The request is unexpectedly denied by our new boss. This is how the conversation proceeds. Supply guy: "Can I order some expedite boxes? We need more." "Do we have a problem?" asked the boss. The supply guy said, "No, not quite yet, but in a few months we will." Boss: "Then don't worry about it. When it arises, we'll handle it." Supply guy: "But..." Boss, cutting in, "Return to your work. When it becomes a problem, I'll deal with it." Knowing that it's no longer his problem, supply guy shrugs and returns to his duties. A few months later, the boss is in a panic because orders that need to be hastened aren't getting out on time and there aren't enough green and red boxes. The boss visits the supply guy. "Why aren't we sending out our orders on time?" asked the boss. "We don't have enough expedite boxes for the orders we're getting in," said the supply guy. "Why didn't you order them?" asked the boss. "You told me not to until it became a problem," shrugged supply guy. Boss: "All right, then order some." "All right," said the supply guy, "but it'll take a few weeks for them to arrive." Boss: "What? Why? Can't we get them sooner?" "Sure, if you want to pay extra," said the supply guy. "It'll likely still be a week or so." Boss: "Fine, but until they arrive, you'll need to find a solution. You are to blame for this." Supply guy does, in fact, come up with a workaround. Without going into minutiae, supply guy comes up with a method that'll keep the customers as happy as possible under the circumstances. However, this means longer hours for the team and thus more overtime paid out. Boss's bosses are unhappy with boss over the extra money spent on the overtime and the rush box order. Supply guy can't really be gotten in trouble due to both his seniority and capability and the fact that making sure the team is properly supplied is not technically part of his responsibilities. He was also not terribly unhappy about the overtime. Supply guy's hourly, while boss, who also had to work overtime, is salaried. This story's a classic play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The boss shot down a perfectly reasonable, proactive solution because of some short-sighted, handle-it-later mindset, and surprise, surprise, it blew up in their face. The supply guy, being the champ he is, not only tried to warn the boss months in advance, but also came up with a workaround when things predictably went south. And our second story. Coworker wanted me to redesign free baby gear to match his preferences. More than a year has passed since this event took place. The age difference between my two daughters is 5 years. I have two daughters. Because my grandson was the first grandchild on both sides of the family, we were able to get some extremely wonderful and high-end baby goods. Due to the fact that we desired to have at least 2 children, we requested that the large goods be gender neutral, and the majority of them were. We did, however, receive a couple of items that were more girlish when we discovered that the baby was a female and when we announced the theme of our nursery. We kept everything for our second child, who turned out to be a girl as well, and we used everything for her as well while we were saving them. I would say that even if our second child had been a boy, we would still have used everything, since what kind of infant would care if their swings was covered in dinosaurs or butterflies? Last year, 2 coworkers of mine unexpectedly became pregnant with a boy. They were struggling financially and didn't have much money for baby items. My youngest was almost grown out of our stuff, and we were officially done having kids. I didn't really know the guy, but I worked with the girl quite frequently. I told her she was welcome to come look at our baby stuff and see if she wanted any of it. She was so grateful and said they'd love to stop by. We set up a time and they came over. The guy was clearly unhappy about all of it. Our gender-neutral pack-and-play and stroller car seat combo were still too girly because they had an overall green tone. The baby swing, which was one of those that played many different songs, vibrated and had a light show, was no good because the mobile had butterflies. I showed him that he could probably replace the butterflies with something else, but he waved me off. He didn't like our baby mats, various toys, and high-end chair either. The girl wanted most of it, but ended up declining everything because he said no. If that was the end of the story, I wouldn't be here. I was trying to help them out, but they were under no obligation to take my old baby stuff. No feelings were hurt, and I let her know the offer would be available until someone else wanted it. A few days later, the guy comes up to me at work and asks about the baby stuff again. I thought maybe he looked at the prices of what I was offering for free and changed his mind or something. He asks if I still sew. Now, I can sew simple things that have easy patterns and mend clothes, but I would never say I was great at sewing. However, I had made some baby clothes for my own girls once upon a time. Again, patterns, and thought he might be asking for something like that. I was wrong. Paraphrasing here, guy. So, we really need the baby stuff you have, but the patterns aren't boyish enough. Could you sew new fabric over the girly stuff and change the butterfly mobile to something else? Me. You want me to reupholster baby furniture? Guy. Yeah, I mean, we're doing you a favor by getting it out of your house. I even found fabric online that I really liked. I can send you a link if you want. Me. I'm not going to do that. I doubt if I could if I wanted to. If you don't like it, you're welcome to find something else. Guy. Come on, you know we can't afford new stuff, and I can't find anyone else giving stuff away. We really need it. You don't want the baby to sleep on the ground, do you? Me. You can take what I have, and someone else might be able to reupholster it, but I'm only giving this stuff away as is. Guy. But that'll cost money. Money we don't have. I thought you and girl were friends. What kind of a friend are you? Me. Huh? He stormed off after a bit more back and forth, and I heard from others that he was complaining about me and my lack of generosity nonstop. The girl apologized profusely, and no one else was on his side, so he stopped after a few weeks, but never spoke to me again. They ended up breaking up before the baby was born for other reasons, and the girl asked if I still had anything. I did, and I gave all of it to her. As far as I know, the baby was perfectly happy with green fabric and purple butterflies. You're absolutely right. This guy isn't just entitled, he's a walking red flag. I feel for girl because, breakup or not, she's tied to this man through their child, and that's not something you can just walk away from. His behavior here is like a giant preview of what co-parenting with him will probably look like. Unreasonable demands, guilt-tripping, and complete disregard for anyone else's time or effort. And our last story. The shed that defeated Karen. When my husband and I relocated to a new state in the mid-1990s, the transition was difficult. Renting for 6 months gave us a chance to settle in, and we soon bought a property in a charming neighborhood. As contractors, we had big plans to transform the house and yard into something truly special, but little did we know we were moving next to Karen, who would become the bane of our existence. The backyard needed major work, and we dove right in. I built terraced walls to prevent water from flooding the house, designed a meandering water garden complete with a waterfall, and installed a French drain to route excess water to the street. It was hard work, but by the end, we'd created a backyard oasis that turned heads. As we worked, our other neighbors were friendly and supportive, stopping by to compliment the improvements. Karen, on the other hand, was an immediate problem. She started spreading rumors that we were ruining the neighborhood with all the construction. Then came the formal complaints. She called the city, claiming that our shed, meticulously planned, permitted, and built, was encroaching on her property. One afternoon, a city inspector showed up. He was friendly and admitted up front that Karen called them almost daily about various violations in the neighborhood. He checked the shed and confirmed everything was in order, commending us on our backyard transformation. As we walked back to the front of the property, I couldn't resist having a little fun at Karen's expense. Loudly, I thanked the inspector for reconnecting with an old classmate and joked about how it was such a small world. I knew Karen was eavesdropping from her garage. Sure enough, she came storming out. "What's going on here?" she demanded. I kept my cool and replied, "Oh, nothing to worry about. The inspector just mentioned my shed is 2 inches over the easement, completely fine." "Have a great day," I waved and walked back into my yard, leaving her fuming. That night, I heard an odd noise from the backyard. My husband and I went outside with a flashlight and saw Karen in our yard with a hammer smashing the corner of our shed. She screamed, "This is my property! You have no right to build here!" We called the police immediately. When they arrived, Karen tried to claim that she was reclaiming her land. The officer was not amused. He asked her to provide proof of ownership, which of course she didn't have. She then tried to pivot, saying we'd built the shed illegally, but the inspector's recent visit and approval quickly shut that down. Karen was issued a warning for trespassing and property damage. She was told that if she set foot on our property again or damaged anything else, she'd be arrested. Karen's antics didn't stop there. She began blasting loud music late at night, aimed towards our yard. She dumped leaves and trash over the fence. One evening we came home to find our water garden clogged with mud and debris, clearly intentional sabotage. Each time we documented everything and called the police. The last straw came when Karen installed a makeshift privacy fence along her side of the property line, a janky collection of mismatched planks and tarps held together with zip ties and duct tape. It was such an eyesore that even the other neighbors, who tried to stay neutral, started complaining. The HOA got involved and fined her for the unsightly structure. Karen exploded, screamed at anyone who dared to criticize her. The neighborhood buzz was alive with stories of her meltdowns, and it became clear she was quickly losing allies. About a month later, a for sale sign went up in front of Karen's house. We later found out she sold the house at a significant loss, likely because her reputation had made her unlivable as a neighbor. Even now, years later, when I look at the shed, I can't help but smile, knowing that Karen's reign of terror ended in defeat. Wow. Karen really went full villain origin story with that one. It's wild how some people can't handle seeing others improve their space without turning it into a vendetta. Props to you for staying cool and playing the long game. Karen basically dug her own grave, alienating everyone around her until she had no choice but to pack up and leave. Your backyard transformation wasn't just a win for you, it was a win for the entire neighborhood. Bravo! Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.